get up here every single day. I talk about prison, not because I'm obsessed with it, no, because there are many, many people still behind bars. There are many loved ones of those people that are still behind bars that are being impacted every single day and that they're unable to find their voice. And that's why I get up here. I get up here because I'm dedicating my time to being a voice, not just for myself, but for anyone that's been impacted by incarceration, because the story needs to be told. It needs to be told in a specific way. That's it. It needs to be told in a specific way. As always, as I get into this, man, I'm up here because I want to answer questions. If y'all got them, please put them in the chat. But also, I always want to bring awareness to this mental health thing. If you need support, get support before I go any further. Our numbers are going up for our brothers and sisters that are coming home from incarceration and deciding that they no longer want to be here, that they're tired. And listen, it impacts many because often you don't know the trauma, the impact of what you've actually faced until you got home. You don't know until you're outside of that very abnormal environment. You know what I'm saying? So I get up here every single day, man, because again, being sentenced to 144 years, the age of 19 was very traumatizing. I was talking about it last night. And I got up to the point where I turned myself in, and people were probably, why would you turn yourself in when you're facing a serious, crime, a charge? I was exhausted mentally at this point because all of my future, now present co-defendants had been locked up one by one, and I knew my cousin was arrested and he was in the jail. I knew they were coming for me, and I didn't have a play. There was nowhere for me to run, nowhere for me to hide. There was nowhere for me to run to. I didn't have the financial, means to go anywhere as well. And keep in mind, two of the guys that I committed a crime with, they had went down to Florida without a plan. They got caught loitering, sleeping outside of a Walmart. When they got picked up, they ran their names, warrants were there. They're back in Virginia now. The same thing probably would have happened to me at some point. Like, I'll tell you, I especially then, I wouldn't have fared well, And I turned myself in. I remember, and this is a really important moment right here because this is for young people, older people too, man. If you're in the streets, sometimes you don't think about the true impact of incarceration. You only think about it in a certain way. You only think about being locked up, but you really don't think about being locked up. You don't think about the full ramifications of it. You know what I'm saying? You already know, Mo. But my mother was screaming out as they put cuffs on me. Let me hold my son. Let me hug my son. Let me just hug my son. And she couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Somebody let me know if there's sound. Hopefully we got sound, man. Somebody said no sound over there. But as she was screaming out, I remember, understanding that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't console her, that I put us in a situation where I was getting ready to go behind that wall where they had cuffs on me, and it caught her off guard. Like a lot of parents, they don't know that their kid is out there living a double life or maybe did something that they shouldn't have been doing, and here we are. And as they're, getting ready to pull me in there, she says it out loud one more time, let me hug my son. They finally let her hug me, but I couldn't hug her back. One of the toughest moments of my life right there. I can feel it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's real. So as they're pulling me away, they're talking trash. That, oh, we got you. We knew we told you we were coming. Why didn't you run? We wanted you to run some, because they had told me when they came to my house to tell me that my cousin was locked up. They was like, yo, if you run somewhere warm, so when we get you, we can put you on vacation. These detectives were greasy, man. They talk that trash. Oh, they talk that trash. But you got to understand the severity of it, because I didn't at that time. I involved myself in that one incident, that one moment, etc. But they had been doing a bunch of things. And they built a task force out there specifically for us now. I included myself. You do one thing with them, you might as well have done everything, because you're pulled into a crime ring at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, a little is a lot no matter what at that moment. And I remember when I got pulled into the detective's office or whatever, where they're sitting down, because they put me there first. We need to speak to you before we put you back there. And immediately they like, yo, You don't have to go to jail. You can go home right now. You can go home right now. But I'm telling you, this is what he says. He says, you're facing a life sentence. He's like, if you don't take the deal, I don't know what to tell you. So I didn't say anything because I'm kind of in shock. And people can talk, talk trash or whatever. Yo, I was sitting there contemplating for a few seconds. I was like, yo, I got a chance to go home. He just said I'm facing life. A lot of people, they want to act like they're super gangsters and they go hard and they go tough. Listen, man, when you're facing a life sentence or multiple life sentences, a lot of that gangster goes away in a lot of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? It does. But for a few seconds, I was sitting there, I was contemplating, but ultimately I came to the decision. As he was explaining, he said, all you got to do is just tell us about this, your cousin, your people, and you'll be home before dinner. But you gotta stand on this side with us in the courtroom, not there. Almost immediately, I'm like, no, I can't. And the reason, it's my cousin. I don't want to cause further damage to the family. It's already we going to the prison. You know what I'm saying? We going up the creek, as they say. And he looks at me and he's like, yo, he's like, I don't think you heard me. You're facing multiple life sentences. If you don't take this deal. And I sat there for about 10 more seconds. I took a deep breath and I looked at him. I was like, I can't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. And he gets up from the table. Now he goes from kind of being calm to like angry, and his partner's laughing. He's like, you don't even know what you do. We're going to make sure you get a life sentence now. And they called for the regular police to come grab me. They brought me back there to booking or whatever. And they started fingerprinting me and doing all that stuff. And then they gave me the slips. And I can't remember what color they were. I think they were yellow or green for some reason. I don't know what color they were, but they're all your charges. And let me explain something to you. I didn't understand the law. Like a lot of us, when we get in trouble, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? We don't know the law. We just out there doing what we doing, living crazy, living a wild lifestyle, gambling our life. We think that this is only going to get us in this much trouble if we get caught. And then we find out, like I did, each one of these charges is a life sentence. I got hit with 6 robberies, 6 conspiracies, 6 use of pew-pews. The robberies each carried 5 to life. Conspiracies, 10 apiece. The use of the pew-pews, the first one 3, everyone after that 5. Multiple life sentences. I'm 19. Now I'm in the hole. And let me tell you something. When they put you in a hole, like when you're just getting to the jail, the crazy part is they put you in a hole with somebody else. So when they brought me in there, it was kind of late at night already. And the dude that was in the hole was underneath the blanket. He didn't even budge. It was like a white dude. He was probably off the streets, honestly. It smelled horrible in there. I couldn't sleep. I stayed up all night. I put my back against the wall. And that was it. And finally, the next day came. They let him. He was able to go home. But I stayed in the hole. They're like, yo, we going to classify you. Boom. They're giving me the little brief intro, rundown through the tray slot now because it's the next business day. And I'm waiting for meals after that. That's it. When you're in a hole, you don't have much. All you got is meals. Tray call. They come to the tray slot. They drop your meal, and you're hoping it's something good. But at the time when I first got locked up, and many of us, if you ever been locked up, y'all have experienced this. And I thank y'all for liking the live, sharing it right now. We talking about how I got 144 years. When you're in there and you first try to eat the food, it's horrible. The food is nasty, yo. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all share this with anybody that can relate too, man. That may need support. There's more than this. We're not just telling stories, trust me. But the food was so nasty, I tried to drink the milk because I was thirsty, and I didn't want to drink the water out the sink because it's connected to the toilet. I never seen nothing like this. This is like, and the water looked brown. I tried to drink the milk, and it was just horrible, man. The food, they had biscuits and gravy. I tried to, man, just the smell alone. You know what I'm saying? The smell alone. And a little bit later that day, lo and behold, the tray slot opens up, and I'm thinking it's a tray. I'm like, okay, dinner came a little bit earlier than expected because we just ate lunch. But it's not. All of a sudden, I look up to the tray slot, and I see a tape recorder dropped on the metal part. that folds out the flap. And I look up, it's one of the detectives, and he hits play, and it's my co-defendant. I mean, it's two of them. They just going off. They like a mixtape. They like your favorite rappers. They going in. They giving up every play. And here's the scary part: they're putting stuff on me that, and I have no reason to make nothing up. I've already done my time. I'm home now. But they putting stuff on me that had nothing to do with me at all. But of course, if you scared, you know you going down. You facing life sentences. You gonna try to get some of that off you. What loyalty do you have to me? You're my cousin's people, not mine. And they were putting stuff on me. They were, and it was, I'm sitting there. And he's just laughing. He's smirking. He's like, I told you should have took the deal. Now that you didn't, they did. Da-da-da-da. But they didn't get no deal. And they were facing charges in other states I would later on learn. But still, you know what I'm saying? They in there. They gave up everything. They just put it up. And let me tell you something. I do not glorify crime. Get out the streets now. Stop committing crimes. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're arrested and you're down there at the precinct or whatever, get a lawyer. Don't talk. Just get a lawyer. Don't talk. It's not going to help you in most cases, man. If they give you an offer or something, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Make sure whatever they do, they give it to you in paper. But also understand that there's consequences. You got to think the long game. You got to. It's always bigger than that, right? But it's real because, again, you might be the stand-up guy out your clique, but when y'all don't go down, if you don't take the deal, somebody else is. Okay, well, if you live by the code, just be prepared to do a life sentence because that's what's gonna happen. And it's not cool. There's nothing to glorify, but you need to know the truth if you're gonna be out there, or, you know. So for the next few months, because after I got put in the general population, I'm at Rappahannock Regional Jail. It's like 2003, right? And what I'll tell you is being at the jail is different than being in prison. I didn't know that then. Jail was it was difficult because I was on the inside, but it was kind of easy. Got into a physical altercation once or twice, nothing more. Found my way with the COs, was able to get me and my people the jobs, passing out the trays. You know what I'm saying? We found our way there. And I'm not glorifying, but when you're doing time, if you can find your way, and what that means is if you can find your way to a hustle, you can, make yourself as comfortable as possible. I mean, then so be it. You go through it and you do your time. And jail is a little bit different than prison because everybody's in and out. There's no stability. There's no foundation. If you're there for a minute, especially the jail I was at, it was kind of easy to get rapport with the staff there. And staff are human. They'll trust you sometimes more than they trust the COs they work with. You know what I'm saying? And, we're passing out commissary. We're doing all the pod jobs. We're the only ones, me and my people, they let out during lockdowns. Guys hated that. But they couldn't do nothing about it, though. We had numbers. We had our people. And our people, it was funny because it literally was just a bunch of young guys that was just cool. We started off playing cards, and then we would always just hang out. And then more of the young dudes used to come in, and we just kind of clicked up in there or whatever. But the bad thing about that is I would have a gang card that followed me, to another institution or whatnot, or to the prisons, because I was known as being a person of influence, a leader of this thing. It wasn't a formal clique. It wasn't anything. It was just a bunch of guys that hung out together and decided to, defend each other and hustle together and do whatever else they needed to do, And I want to tell you, shout out to Aaron Pila over here too. Good content creator, man. He's over here messaging me, asking me about live stuff. Domo, what's good, man? But that's what jail was, man. Now, the ill part about jail, the illest part is, while you're doing your time, especially if you're a first-time offender, as they say, you never dealt with the system, you're going to be paranoid. Appreciate that. Good morning, Domo. You're going to be paranoid. You're going to want to ask people for insight. You're going to want to ask the OGs, oh, you think I'm going down? And I was doing that. I wasn't giving up information when it came to my case because they was already doing that. But I would go to the OA. I'd be like, yo, I'm facing this many charges. What you think? And every time they like, yo, you got a public defender? Who's your public defender? I would tell them my public defender, and they was like, you going down. You got to try to find and get a lawyer. I didn't have the money to get a lawyer. My family didn't have the money to get a lawyer, and that's the case for a lot of people. And there are some good public defenders, but the one I had was some straight garbage. I'm gonna tell you that, basura. And you know, the legal process. Looking back now, I understand just how in trouble I really was because I barely seen him. There was really no communication. He didn't show me that he was actually doing any work for my case. He must have knew the other guys were already testifying. I'm sure he did, but at the same time, like he didn't try to explain to me any type of legal defense. I wasn't offered a plea because I turned down the opportunity to go home that day when I could have testified. And ultimately, we came up with the strategy of just going in front of the lawyer, pleading guilty and throwing myself at the mercy of the judge and hoping that he didn't give me a life sentence. Now, the scary part about this was, where I was at in Virginia for robberies, they giving people life sentences. You don't come back. I just watched a young boy go up in there with 2 robbery charges, and he got hit with 60 some years, and he was like 16. Life over with. I got multiple robbery charges. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't know what to do, but I'm praying and I'm walking in faith and I'm hoping because that's all you can do at this moment. There's no other solution at this point in time. My family didn't know about the legal system either. They brand new like me. And the morning that I get sentenced, I go to, first, they sped me up early, right? I wasn't supposed to go in front of the judge to get sentenced until like a month later. They called me a month earlier, and I remember it was like 5 a.m. If you ever done time, you know they wake you up early. The bullpen is cold. They get you up in there. You sitting in there for like an hour and a half. They get you in the jumpsuit. You eat the cold bag lunch. You in there freezing. Dudes is talking paranoid. They ain't brushed their teeth. You know what I'm saying? Bullpen smelling like bull. You understand me? One of the worst miserable situations you could ever be in, man. That's why I keep telling y'all stay free. And I'm arguing with the COs that morning because I'm like, I don't have court. I don't have court. Why am I here? I don't go to court till next month. CO's like, well, you're on the docket. You're on the docket. You're going to have to go down there. If you're not on the docket, we'll go ahead and transfer you back. At least you go for a ride. Yeah, that's cool. Go for a ride, but I don't want to go for a ride because I got to get shackled ankles to waist to wrist, whatever. But I don't want all that, man. At this point, I don't want to go there unless I got to. Going to court is traumatizing, man. Jeremiah, I appreciate that. Very traumatizing. It's not a game. So he's just telling me, he's like, you good? You need to go ahead and go. We pull up to the court. And I'm trying to tell the bailiff or whatever. I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Y'all gonna have to transfer me right back to the jail. And he's like, no, you get sentenced. It says you got a sentencing hearing today. Blah, 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 blah. Next thing I know, my public defender walks in. He's like, you ready? I'm like, what do you mean am I ready? What do you mean am I ready? We got court next month, man. Mentally, I wasn't prepared for this morning. I knew it was coming. He's like, well, at least you get to get it over with. Like, man, this is crazy, but you got a point. Yeah, I get to get it over with because it's the weight that takes you out. It's the weight that really takes you out, man. You know what I'm saying? You waiting to get sentenced. It's the mental strain of not knowing what's going to happen, knowing that you could possibly get a life sentence. You just waiting to hear the words. And he looks at me, my public defender, and here's the crazy part. He says, the best I can do is get you 35 to 54 years to do. And I'm looking at him like, what? 35 to 54 years to do. I'm about 20 years old now. I think I had just turned 20 at the time or getting ready to. And I'm like, I'll be 55 or 74 is what you're saying. Like, my life is over. And I did what a lot of young people don't do in the courtroom. And that's why it's important y'all share this out, man. Share this, like this. Man, tag people, whatever it is, but you need to hear this because you need to know that you can fight. You can stand up for your rights in there, man. Even when it comes to your own attorney, they're working for you. And when he said that, I was like, I can't do that. And a lot of people, they just go with whatever the public defender says because they don't know any better. They don't know that they can challenge it. And there's so many people sitting in prison right now with life sentences or 30 years or 20 years because they didn't know they could say no. And I looked at him, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. He's like, what you mean? What you mean I'm not doing that? You're not doing that. This is, I'm your public defender. I said, man, I said, yo, I can't do life. And he gets angry. My public defender who's supposed to be defending my life, he gets angry, right? And he says, immediately, he says, well, I'll give you 2 minutes and you can figure it out. I'll be back. I'll be back. And whatever we figure out or whatever you figure out, I'll tell them. I'll let them know. You tell me since that's not good enough. This is how he's talking to me. Like I'm supposed to just take 35 to 54 years to the chest. And mind you, I never left the truck. Nobody got physically harmed. I know mental and emotional trauma is real. But come on, man. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? So he leaves. He's like, and it's just like, I'll give you 2 minutes. He leaves, and I'm just sitting there. I pray. I'm like, yo, I'm 20. They giving dudes life sentences. I'm just gonna tell them I want to be home before I'm 40. People won't understand that, and some people make a joke about it too. Not in a mean way. They'll be like, damn, bro, what if you would have told him you wanted to be home before you were 30? I don't know. Maybe that would have worked. I don't know now. All I can do is trust God's plan. That's it. And when he came back, that's what I told him, because I had to figure out really quick how much time I could give the courts that would make them happy, but at the same time, how much time I could survive in prison. Prison is extremely hard, man, and I knew that, but I also knew they were giving out life sentences, so I had to go either way. And he's like, fine, I'll tell him that. And that's it. We walk out. He's like, come on. We walk out there. The bailiff's like, come on. He escorts me out there. We go out into the courtroom. And there's a bunch of people in there, but all I see is my mom. I'm scared to death. We standing there. She gets up on the stand. You know what I'm saying? She does her thing. She's like, yo, my son is a good, he did it. You know, he this is his first time in trouble. He was in the military. You know, the attorney, he does some half-hearted speech. Then they ask me to get on the stand. I get on the stand, and my whole thing is about accountability. I apologize. It's the whole reason I got up there, because everything that they needed to know was already out there. But I did tell them, I said, yo, this is not me. I said, I hold myself accountable, but this, if you let me out today, it'll never happen again. And my attorney starts examining me on the stand, but he only asked me one question. He said, what did you tell me back there as far as how much time you're willing to do, or you think that you deserve to do for this? And I said, well, I want to be home before I'm 40. And I explained to him why I felt like I should be home before I'm 40, even though these crimes are really serious. You know what I'm saying? And essentially, when I got up off there, the judge starts reading the time. And he's listing numbers off. And I hear, you're now given blah, 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 blah years, blah, 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 blah years. Thank you, Black Bear, blah, 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 blah years, all that. Sweet Candy and Black Bear. That's my book right there in the corner, man. 144, Prison Pain and the Pathway to Freedom. A lot of this is in there, but it's more in depth. I'll tell you that. Right there above I think I gotta go over there. Boom. Right there, man. 144, Prison Pain and the Pathway to Freedom. Y'all check that out. But listen. He starts reading off my time, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm cooked. Once they get past 100 years, like, I'm all ready. And I get that high pitched ringing in my ear, and my public defender starts tapping me on the shoulder, and he's like, you good, you good. He gave you what you wished for. And I'm like, huh? He's like, no, all this time suspended. So the actual sentence was 144 years, all suspended, but 19. You got to do 85% of your time in VA. Ultimately, I would end up doing 16 years, 11 months. But what I'll tell you is that moment in the courtroom, by far, one of the toughest moments of my life, but it would prepare me mentally to stand up to whatever challenge may come my way the rest of the way through. Because mentally, I never felt that type of pressure before. And I hold myself accountable, but again, it is the major reason that I do the work that I do, because I stood in a situation where they were telling me, you're cooked. You're not going to get a second chance. Where I do want to say, while the majority of us were getting life sentences for these types of crimes, there were individuals that were not, that were getting slaps on the wrist, 2 years, youthful offender programs, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Usually they had a paid attorney. Usually they didn't look like me. And I'm just giving you the truth. I'm just giving you the truth. It's not one of the messages, but I just want you to know the truth of the matter when it comes to the system. And, you know, that moment, it reminds me how many young people are in courtrooms and they don't know their rights and they're being over sentenced. And they've got public defenders that don't take their freedom or their life or their case serious. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm going to get into more of this story tomorrow when I go live, man. But that's when I got sentenced. 144 years, man. I'm going to go through some of these questions, man. I'm going to bring it back up to the top. Somebody said they currently in a situation with a group of Albanians. I'm Serbian. Is it worth it? It's never worth it to get involved in the politics in prison, man. I want to be clear. Like, life is so much more. As young people, and, you know, once upon a time I was young, I used to think that, like, that's what life was about. Being clicked up with my people, running wild, doing what we want to do. But that's not life at all, man. You know what I'm saying? Official Endeavor said, that's crazy what happened to Visitation Room in Georgia. Most definitely it is. Most definitely it is crazy what happened. If y'all didn't hear, in Washington State Prison, a riot kicked off. And during visitation, some individuals ran into the visitation room. None of the visitors were harmed in any way. But, man, think about that. You're in visitation. You're with your family. You got your child. You know, you're happy to see them. And all of a sudden, boom, they run up in there. You don't know what's going on, what their purpose is. You don't know if you can defend your family against that big of a group of guys. That's scary, man, whether you're on the inside or not. Come on. Luckily, though, I think the old code rang through, which is you don't involve people's visitors and stuff. Like, there's certain, in prison, there's a code. Some of us still live by it. And I'd like to say, I think the majority, even the youngsters that were involved in that situation, a lot of younger people, I think they understood that code. Whatever happened, it had nothing to do with the families. But, man, those situations and those moments need to be examined more. And that's why we talk about prison the way that we do, because we need to understand that it's not rehabilitation. It's a war zone. It's not helping people heal. It's hurting people and having them come home more like monsters, if anything else. And it's really important to know that, because in order for us to succeed when we come home, we got to be healed, man. Our mental health got to be right. But when you're enduring all that type of trauma, and it's never processed, and then you out here and you get triggered, and next thing you know, you're going back down the path. You know what I'm saying? Trish said, blessings, brother. My question is, why do you hate I don't hate COs. I actually got love for COs, the ones that actually got love for us. It's about respect, man. It's about respect. Shout out to CO Dan, man. Friend of mine. Got me in the London Correctional Institute. Great guy. He cares about the guys. He wants to see him go home and be successful. I'm cool with those COs. I am not cool with the COs that just want to come in there in the prisons, torment, terrorize the guys in there, use the advantage that they have an upper hand with their position, title, role in society to, you know, kind of demean the guys in there and take out whatever they're going through at home, because that happens. You got a lot of COs that come to work and they taking out their stresses from what's going on in their household inside of the prison. And it's really nasty stuff because it impacts a person's life. COs on a bad mood can walk in there, write 2 or 3 charges. A guy can get sent to a level 4 and never make it home again. Or write 2 and 3 charges and the guy loses good time and he doesn't get to see his family as fast as he could have. But the guy's just on one. I've seen it. I don't like those guys. Yeah. Anybody also knows our system's about money too. I just wanted to chime in, Miss Gigi. That's a good comment. I just wanted to, the reason our prison system's so jacked up compared to a lot of the other ones that you may see throughout the world is because ours is about money. Everything is about budget. Everything is about profit. Everything is about what they can gain. People are like livestock because they go inside the prisons. They're paid pennies to the dollar. If not, they're paid nothing, and they've got to do the work that civilians get paid for a whole lot of money, or at least get paid for. You got prisoners throughout the country working for the Department of Transportation, cleaning roads and doing all that stuff, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sweet Candy Scorpio, I appreciate that love right there and that support for ordering the book 144, Prison Pain and the Pathway to Freedom. I really do appreciate that. That's love right there. But you got other things. People that are hired inside the prisons are used to fulfill contracts that are utilized with through the state and through private industries and businesses, and these prisons make thousands and millions of dollars sometimes off the labor of those that are incarcerated there. And you got to think about that. Some of the same people that are passing laws or putting laws in place that are making sure people are incarcerated are the same people that are investing in the banks. In the prisons, in the banks too, but in the prisons. That's how they feel. That's how they put money in their bank. I can't wait for you to read it either. But that's exactly how they put their money in the bank. Let me pass this law, right? And then from there, I'm going to make sure that this person never goes home again. We'll get money from the government, etc., whatever. We'll collect some money to house them, feed them, etc., and then we'll use them for labor. It's a win-win. You know what I'm saying? And it freaks me out, Black Bear. I appreciate that. But it freaks me out because people can understand it, they can see it, but they'll still fall victim to it, man. You know? Like, that's real. That's real, man. And we got to be wise enough when we see it to know it. We got to be wise enough when we see it to make sure that we don't go for it, man. There's too many people that are impacted by incarceration. I appreciate everybody liking this, sharing this, tagging people, because I'm trying to get this word out there. I'm trying to continue this conversation that I believe that's needed, because tomorrow there's a whole bunch of people going to court in the morning. And right now there's a whole bunch of people sitting in cells. And right now there's a whole bunch of people that are sitting in visitation rooms visiting their loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Joe Queen said 155 to double life, to reduce to 31 to life to 26 years later. I was cleared and freed. Come on, man. Come on, man. And I'm going to tell you what's powerful about that right there. Unfortunately, everybody that's sitting in prison doesn't fight for their freedom. Unfortunately, everybody that goes to prison doesn't say, oh, I still got a chance, even when they get 30, 40, 50, 60 years. But there's a percentage of people that say, I can't go out like that. There's no way I'm going out like that. It's important to know that unless the lights are out, man, and sometimes even when they are, there could very well still be a pathway out. I've watched individuals that would have 60, 70, 80, 90 years walk around with their chests out, chin up, in that law library every day, every other day, doing whatever they needed to do, studying, learning, making sure. You understand what I'm saying? Making sure that they gave themselves an opportunity to be free. But then you got some people that just lay down. The scary truth is you got some people that could have been home. You got some people that didn't have to spend the rest of their life in there. There was some people that there was an error in their paperwork. There was a way that they could have got back in court. There was a shift, but they just either didn't know how or they didn't want to. Some people don't. It's ironic, and I'm going to give you another weird piece of a psychological thought that some people in prison have, and it may be a small percentage, but there's some people in there, they would rather do the time than to deal with the fight of trying to get home, because it's exhausting, it's grueling, it's a test mentally. I had a pardon in, and at one point, I had reached a certain level. They're like, oh, we're coming, basically like it reached the next level, and they were looking at it more in depth. And I really thought I was getting ready to come home, and I was helping other people get home. By the way, I used to be a beast at that legal work, and I'm sitting in there, and I get my paperwork one day, and I gotta call my wife or my at the time my lady, but then now we've been married over 6 years. But I got to call her and I say, yo, I didn't make I didn't get my pardon. I'm not coming home. I didn't know she was gonna leave me, but there's a lot. And I'm just telling you some of the things that are tied to fighting. Some people would just rather just deal with whatever it is, man, because they don't want to deal with that part of the emotions, man. It gets difficult. Nonetheless, man, I appreciate y'all. I wanted to hop up here this morning. As always, my name is Christopher Life Willers. I'm getting back up here. I was talking about how I got sentenced. In the process of that, of getting 144 years in prison as a first time offense. Never in trouble before, you know? Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about when I first went to prison, when I first hit Sussex 2, when I first got sent to that level 4, putting the burgundies on, when they shaved my head. That's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, man. Today, though, I was talking about that sentencing because I want to bring awareness to the fact that tomorrow somebody's going to be fighting for their life in a courtroom near you. Tomorrow, somebody's going to be harshly over-sentenced near you. Tomorrow, somebody's going to be impacted by an unjust system, near you. So the best thing that you can do is educate, make yourself aware. It's always good just to know the laws, even if you're not somebody that says, I'll never be in. You never know. How many people are sitting in prison right now and said, I'd never be in there? Yeah, we're law-abiding citizens, by the way, but hey, 30 seconds of bad decision or, high emotional octane added to the fire can definitely put you in a situation you didn't expect. Miss Gigi, you're definitely welcome. Nonetheless, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Be aware. Like my brother says, man. My brother says be aware, be on point, study, and have the conversations that matter, all that. I appreciate y'all for coming through here, man. My really organic lives this morning. Get some more coffee. Headed downtown, man, headed out to the outskirts and then downtown to do some interviews today, man. I'm excited with Bree from Bar Business, Dr. Barber, who did 10 years, is now the Goodwill ambassador for the state of Georgia. Breaking stereotypes, shattering narratives, rewriting them, all that good stuff, man. But that's what we get into today. If there's somewhere y'all want to see me travel, connect, deliver a message as I deliver this mission to just bring Stay Free to a space near you, man, let me know. Connect with me, message me, etc., man. Y'all already know what it is. Link in bio. And I will see y'all soon, man. I think we're headed to Richmond next, man. Shout out to Second Lap. Good brother Amir over there. After Richmond, we got Philly, we got Arizona again. We got a whole bunch of stuff, man. Shout out to Ohio that just reached out, the juvenile detention center out there. I'm really excited to make that trip there and then back to London Correctional Institute, man. So I got to shout out Ohio too, man. And every other state, place, facility, anybody that's been reaching out, man. We trying to make it happen to the best of our ability. So far, so good. We getting everything on the calendar. And we keeping it rolling, man. We on a mission in 2026 just to continue to bring the message to stay free. And that's it, man. Till next time, I will see y'all. It's about time for me to get the moving so I can get to work, man. And that's it, man. I'll see y'all soon. Thank you for the support. Peace.